What's up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Variant, the podcast. It's just us today, Tim.
It is. It's the first time in, 3 episodes?
Yeah.
That, it's just you and I.
I know.
You know, just cozying it at home.
Back to the beginning.
What's up, Variant Nation? We actually have a jam-packed show today.
Yeah, we got to run through it because there's so much to talk about.
Yeah, there is so much to talk about. So many things have happened over the past week and a half, 2 weeks. We were covering over the last few weeks several different things with our guests that were in-house. Particularly with Jeff and his big comic book collection that he found, the Secret Sound collection, and then Tom was here.
Dug that.
Yeah,
Everyone
man,
dug that one.
Well, it's such a cool story,
Mm-hmm.
and it was fun having Jeff and Tom on, which was our most recent episode where Tom came on, and he's always, because he's just a wealth of comic book knowledge.
He's going to be on quite frequently now with the Hot 5 kicking off.
That's right, and in fact, next week he'll be here with December's Hot 5. So be on the lookout for that. It's a new monthly segment that we're going to be doing. But we're going to jump right into, we got everything from some new trailers to talk about. We've got some hot comics, DC, Marvel news, rumors.
Seems like ever since the strikes ended, just information is a-flowing.
Yeah, particularly with Marvel. But I have a theory on that. We'll get to that towards the end. That's gonna be the last thing we hit,
casting stuff from like James Gunn. I mean, we'll get,
Yeah.
All this stuff that we're talking about today happened after the strike, and it's a lot.
It is a lot. It is a lot. And by the way, I hope everybody had a great holiday weekend.
Turkey Day.
Yeah, Turkey Day. It was a big 5-day weekend, Black Friday and all the... Did you shop? Did you shop?
I didn't buy a single thing this Black Friday.
You know what I bought? A refrigerator.
Did you really?
Yeah, I had to buy a refrigerator. So I was like looking around for deals. I was like, these are the same freaking prices.
That's what I heard a lot of people saying, and I saw for myself. So I'm like, this doesn't even... Plus, the deals are like, let's be honest, the deals aren't just Black Friday and Cyber Monday anymore. They're all December long. So I'm like... I don't, and my kids are still small enough where they just want like dolls and kid toys. True. So it's not like I'm buying TVs and stuff.
You actually hear a lot of people say for the last few years, actually, a lot of you can find better deals after Black Friday.
Yeah.
As people, the retail, especially if they don't have a Good Friday, the retailers, they'll drop everything. But yeah, so I was forced to buy a refrigerator because I waited until to see if I could get like a good deal.
Did you?
And I was like, but I had no choice. Like our refrigerator was dying. And I was like, well.
In the house or the garage?
Pull the trigger. In the house.
Okay, so the main refrigerator.
Yeah, the old, 1967 refrigerator that I've had since we got married is still sitting in the garage running like a champ. And this brand new Samsung that we bought when we got the house, it's like it's always given us problems.
They don't make them like they used to.
Yeah, it's very much in that vein.
America.
But another thing we did over the weekend is I saw my girls, my 2 daughters, they went and saw the new Hunger Games movie. They're big Hunger Games fan. And they came back just like on cloud 11.
Everyone's
just
saying
freaking out. It was like borderline obsessive. So I was a little worried for a minute. I was like, oh no, am I going to go see it? Because they were like, we got to go see it, Dad. And so I was like, okay, let's go see it. It was actually excellent.
Everyone's saying it's the best Hunger Games film.
I think so. That's exactly, so I'm not alone.
Yeah, no,
that's exactly how I felt. Afterwards, I was like, I think that might be the best one.
I'm not that big on Hunger Games.
Neither was I.
I've seen the originals with Jennifer Lawrence, but it's been so long, I don't really even remember. There was 3, right?
3, yes.
3, yeah.
3, right? Yeah,
3. Yeah, so I saw them
you
all.
You can see how big of fans we are.
But the last time I saw them was I saw them in theaters, and I think that's the only time I've ever seen them. So I'd have to rewatch them. I did enjoy them. I remember that. But it's making me, there's just so much to watch, but it's making me curious to go back to rewatch those. Because this is a prequel, right?
This was a prequel, yeah. It shows the rise of Snow.
Okay.
Is he the emperor?
I don't remember.
He's the prime minister, the president.
Yeah, I'm not up to speed with my Hunger Games
genocidal dictator. Yeah, so it shows Snow is the one that Katniss Everdeen fights in the first trilogy.
She's obviously not in this because this is a prequel.
Yeah, it's like 65 years prior.
Okay.
To the Hunger Games movies that everybody already knows.
It looks great though.
The cast was excellent, but most importantly, I would just say the story is really, really well done, and it's written really well. So all the performances are good. It's written really well, and it's a very compelling movie. And it, because of the way the weirdness of the world, there's elements of the movie, of course, where you're just like the original Hunger Games, where you're kind of like, I could see that. I can see that.
The rich hunt the poor.
Yeah, it's like, all right. But yeah, that was a good one. So if you haven't seen that, because it actually didn't perform super blockbuster great either at the box office.
Is anything right now besides Taylor Swift?
Yeah. And Five Nights at Freddy's.
Oh, that did do pretty well, especially considering the budget.
That did pretty well, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, you should go see that. That's a good one. I did that, and I got caught up on the Invincible show.
What I want to see is Godzilla -1.
Yes.
That's what I need to see.
Dude, can we talk about for a second, because we're going to get into some of the hot comics going on. This is one of them. is how the Monsterverse is popping off. Just in general.
And it's all kind of hitting at once, too.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of stuff is going on with the Godzilla franchise right now.
I haven't seen the new Monarch show. You've been watching. Are you up to date?
The episode 4 just dropped today, so I haven't watched that one, obviously. I'll watch that probably tonight. But yeah, I'm up to date as of, the last 3 weeks.
Okay. I haven't seen any of it yet because I don't have Apple Plus.
I really enjoyed it. I will say the human story is a little weak following one of the daughters and stuff like that. It's it's not the greatest, but overall the show is definitely expanding the Monsterverse lore. We see, what happened to the Lotson, the ship from Kong Skull Island and all that stuff, and who the monster was that like took down that ship, and stuff like that. It ties back to my God, who voices Sully? John Goodman.
Oh, John Goodman. Yeah. On Skull Island.
It draws back to his character from Skull Island. You see a young version of him. You see a young version of Kurt Russell's character.
So wait, is the show set in the past?
Yes, it's a prequel.
Oh, I thought it was current. It's like present day.
No, it's telling you the origins essentially of Monarch. Oh, how they got established. How who a lot of the key players were. What are some of the Titans that were first found?
Oh, dope!
It's really cool.
How are the visual effects?
Awesome. In episode 2, 3, we see Godzilla.
Because the trailers and stuff I've seen.
Actually, it's in the trailer. The shot where you see Godzilla from the tail and the camera goes up his spine into the front.
And he turns?
Yeah. It's that scene. So good. So good.
I want to watch it. I know it's going to be probably cheesy.
It is. A little bit. It's good. But I mean, the Monsterverse in general, but that's kind of like their appeal, right?
Yeah.
They're a little cheesy, but they're just super fun and just good. The lore is awesome, and it's giant monsters fighting.
They're just so fun, man.
They are.
You can just go in and just watch monsters tear stuff up.
I'm enjoying them more than the Marvel stuff right now. And the DC stuff.
That's not hard. Whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it's been really good.
We also got, so kind of getting into the actual topic. So one of the things that we got here just in the last couple of days is we got our first look trailer at the new Furiosa.
George Miller's
Mad Max saga, the new one, the prequel for Furiosa.
Looks great.
And it looks really good.
I can't believe freaking Chris Hemsworth's, it's not a crazy transformation, but the nose prosthetic enough is threw me off.
It's like, how do you go from Thor Love and Thunder to that?
George Miller's
because he looks great in it.
No, I mean,
he did Extradition or Extraction.
He's great.
Extradition.
I love Chris Hemsworth. He was great in the Extraction films.
I haven't seen the second one. Have you seen Extraction too?
No, I haven't seen it. So it's the first one. He was great in the first one.
He was great in the first one.
Why haven't I seen the second one?
It's probably the same reasons as me. Just haven't.
There's just so much to keep up with.
I definitely want to watch it because it looks good.
Yeah. No, he looks great in it. And Anya Taylor-Joy looks great. She's great in general. I was talking to you about it the other day. Queen's Gambit from Netflix. She was awesome in that, and she's just good in general. So she's definitely one of the new A-listers now in Hollywood. She's the new chosen one for sure.
She's finished her penance or whatever it is that allows them to turns them into the it person.
There's
she's definitely one of them.
We'll get into it later, but there's rumors of her being Silver Surfer.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that for sure. That is definitely when we get into the Marvel stuff. That's high on my topic list. So Furiosa looks great. I think the look. The only thing that I noticed that I was a little bit disappointed about when I saw the trailer was looks a little bit more VFX heavy. And the first one there was a lot of VFX obviously in the first one. And it still has George Miller's look, which is very cool. But the first one had a lot of practical elements, and it felt like it. This one felt a little bit more VFX heavy. So I don't know how that's gonna. I don't know if that's actually gonna be a thing on screen or. I mean, it looks great either way.
Yeah, the visuals were insane.
I did notice that. That was my only thought.
Yeah, I'm very excited for it.
I'm going to see it.
Mad Max Fury Road was one of the best films to come out in recent years. And
so good.
Hopefully this lives up to that. I mean, the trailer looks great.
When did that come out? That's a long time ago now.
Yeah.
That's like 2015?
Something like that, yeah.
2015 is like 8 years ago, dude. That's crazy time.
Tom Hardy.
Yeah.
Now I need to know. Now I need to know.
Yeah. But beyond that, one of the big things that's been going on
2015, you nailed it.
Look at that.
Holy crap.
You know why I said 2015? Because I remember I tied it to one of our Comic-Cons that we were at.
Wow.
When I bought a Mad Max shirt, the Fury Road shirt at the con.
What a lovely day.
Yeah, what a lovely day. Exactly.
Yes.
And I was at the con and I was like, it had to have come out that year.
Dude, Nicholas Hoult was in there. That's right.
Yeah.
Who Lex Luthor. We'll talk about that again later too.
Talk about that as well. Yeah. So, but yeah, really, I'm looking forward to that one. In comics, there has been quite a few like big ticket things that have hit just in the last few weeks in comics. There's several major events going on.
Yeah.
You got the Fall of X, which is ongoing in Marvel. That's making some waves as far as the Marvel universe goes. And it's not my favorite thing Marvel's doing right now, though. It is not. But it's a little bit up in the air for me as far as like, where is this eventually going?
I'm gonna be blunt. I'm gonna be blunt. I do think that Hickman is doing a great job with, the last several years reinventing these X-Men. But I do feel at the same time, it's a little much, where it's like the format of way the X-Men books are presented, where you have like all the data pages and all that stuff. Like it
was cool at first.
Yeah, but it's just a lot now. Like again, being blunt, it almost just seems like homework sometimes, where it's just like, I got to read all of this. And so like, it's cool because it's expansive and stuff, but like there's so many X-Men books and there's so many tie-ins, even for like a massive comic book fan for myself, when you're reading and trying to watch and read and do all these other things, it just becomes a chore at a certain point.
Yeah, no, I could understand that for sure. And the other thing too is that, we went through, you had House of X, Powers of X, and you had, what was the next one after that?
Fall of X? Well, that's the one we're currently in.
Well, yeah, you had Hellfire Gala, but there was another event before that. And then just a whole Krakoan age, I guess you could say. And now the Fall of X. And then after this, it's going to be the fall of the House of X. And
it's a lot of falling.
Yeah. And it's just like,
when are they gonna hit?
Again, there's some really cool things that have come out of it. One of which we were about to cover on the show, the Weapons of Vengeance, story between Wolverine and Ghost Rider. There's some definite cool things that came out of it. But I was just kind of like, where are they going to go with this? What is this going to lead to? Is this just about keeping the X-Men in the spotlight until they can get to live action? I just don't know. And it's not, again, I'm not saying that it's bad. It's actually been, a lot of it's been very good. But it just feels weighty at this point. Well, because it's like, I don't know where it's going to lead.
There's no real resolution yet. It just keeps leading into the next thing and the next problem. And now most of the mutants aren't even on Earth anymore.
Yeah.
And I mean,
but it's again, it hasn't been bad, and the Fall of X has been good so far. It's had some very cool moments. And we're gonna like get into some of them a little bit more in the new year as it leads into the Fall of Power.
But even
House
like
of X
the Weapons of Vengeance storyline, which was like, it was connected, but it's not connected. Like that was self-contained, where it was just like,
it was under the umbrella.
Yeah, you don't have to read anything from Fall of X to understand that like 4-issue story.
Yeah. And then that's all I meant was like during the event, they have had several different interesting side stories.
And those side stories, a lot of them I enjoyed more personally.
I would agree with that.
I think one of my favorite things that Marvel is doing right now is the next one we're going to talk about, which is Predator versus Wolverine.
Yes.
I think that makes all the sense in the world. Predator is no stranger to comic books.
Yep.
He's first Batman, Superman, Justice League, now Wolverine, but Wolverine is known as like, the apex hunter in comic books. So it just makes way more sense than the Predator fighting Superman or Batman or anyone else. So it's like, yes. And it's been really compelling thus far.
It has. And I think a lot of people would agree with you. It was the #1 selling book in the month of October.
Yeah.
In comics overall.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of people that think that, and it has been a very fun title. It's very much in the line how you and I have been talking about it. We've even mentioned it on the show several times. Some of the greatest stuff in comics over the last few years, I would say, have been these like mashup stories and crossover stories, stuff or Elseworld
in main continuity.
Yes. Stuff that breaks out and tells a unique story that's interesting because you're mixing things that don't normally go together. And you create a compelling, storyline.
Yeah, no, it's been great. And I love how the series is going through, because one of the things you learn, spoilers, you learn in the book is that Predator and Wolverine have come into confrontation several times throughout the years.
Over the years, yeah.
The main story in the book is the present day, where like Wolverine is fighting Predator in present day, but the story keeps flashing back to like all the different times he's faced them in the past. And this main story in the present is going to be like their final confrontation, where it's like someone's going to have to once and for all beat the other person. Yeah. So I'm curious to see. I mean, you would think Wolverine, but maybe stalemate. I don't know. Like, who's going to win in the end?
I don't know. and that's kind of similar to the next one that we were going to talk about. It was Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong, where in issue 2, you see Godzilla take down Superman. Sort of. There's like a caveat. There's like an asterisk.
I mean,
still the outcome was, it was not what you would have expected initially.
It's a fun thing because I would assume most people would just say, yeah, obviously Superman, because he's smarter, faster, stronger. Like
it's Superman.
It's Superman. He's basically fighting, a powerful beast king of monsters, but he's fighting an animal.
Right.
So you think someone as powerful as Superman would be able to take it. But he gets distracted and then knocked out for round 1. So
it's really fun, actually. Honestly, my favorite part, if you guys aren't reading the Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong book, you definitely want to pick it up. It's one of the more fun books I have personally seen in years.
Well, it's hitting on all, for me personally, and probably a lot of other people, it's hitting on all the stuff I'm liking most right now.
Yeah.
Which is the Monsterverse. That's one of my favorite things this year.
It's everywhere.
And then the DC like Elseworld stuff. We just said that. I think DC is at its best the last year or two, maybe even longer, when they're doing stuff like Dark Knights of Steel, Deceased, Injustice, like all those Elseworld stuff. I forgot the name of the vampire one they just recently did. We covered it all, and I forgot the name of it.
DC versus Vampires?
Versus Vampires.
DC versus Vampire? Yeah. I just went full drunk mode. DC versus Vampire.
But every single one of those have been great, and they're all out of their main continuity.
Very much so.
And then this one, this Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong, is only 2 issues in at the time of shooting this, but it's been great thus far.
For the Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong, I think my favorite part is the art. The artwork.
Oh, its art's been great.
So good.
Yeah.
It's so good. Like even just the framing in the panels, particularly that one shot where you see Godzilla in the background facing Superman, who's in the foreground, facing away from you, and they're just like staring at each other. There's just some really good panels in this book so far. It's only 2 issues in, but it's some really good stuff.
Yeah, and you get to see Godzilla and Superman at a stalemate with atomic breath versus heat vision, and that's a great panel as well.
Yeah. So there's a lot of cool stuff going on in comics right now. If you're a comic book fan, there's some really good stuff to read. But the one I think I would personally recommend the most, that I'm digging the most, is the Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong.
Yeah. You know what?
Is that your favorite as well?
I mean, it's hard to say. It's up there. I'm not going to say that definitively, but it's up there. But it would make sense because every year, remember when Power Rangers Justice League came out? That was my favorite that year. Then Power Rangers TMNT was that's not DC, but it was still another awesome crossover. Power Rangers TMNT, that's still, because it just hit that nostalgia spot for me. It was like watching Fox Kids all over again, and it was so good. But all these, you would think, there's a part of me that you would think these crossovers are just gimmicky, and it's like, but they're actually really fun, and they're really good.
They do a pretty good job with them.
Yeah, especially recently. The last several years, they've been really doing a good job with them.
Yeah, and I appreciate that they have paid attention to what the audience is liking and consuming, and they seem to be increasing the number of them, or willing to take more risks on stories like that to see if fans also, tap in there.
And it's nothing really new, I guess, either. They're just kind of revamping it again, because one of my favorites from the childhood is RoboCop versus Terminator.
Oh, yeah.
By Frank Miller. And it literally ties in to the film where you see that RoboCop's tech is actually responsible for Skynet.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
Even Predator has gone up against Batman and stuff like Superman in the past. So this isn't even Predator's first foray into Marvel DC, but this one's good too.
Now DC 10.
Yeah, but now let's jump into some of this
DC movies.
Yeah, Marvel obviously is going to be the bulk, but DC has had just recently, in the past week, they announced more castings for the Superman Legacy movie. We of course already knew about how do you pronounce his last name? Cornsweet? Cornsweet.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought Cornsweet likes to sweat.
Cornsweet. That is the most Nebraska. I grew up on a farm.
He's a 6'4"
David Cornsweet. But yeah, we know he's our Clark Kent Superman. You've got Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane.
So good.
Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner, Green Lantern.
That's the only one that's questionable to me.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that one as well.
And I love Fillion.
Him.
So do I.
Yeah.
But my complaint, I don't know if it's your same complaint, is the majority of complaints, he's a little old to be. Because when I and many of comic fans picture Guy Gardner, they picture a younger, bratty, douchebag Green Lantern.
Correct.
Which Nathan Fillion could portray that great.
He could.
But he's in his 50s.
He's getting up there.
Yeah. So I mean, we don't know what version of the character he's doing, clearly an older version.
They cast a young Superman. They said we're focusing on a younger Superman. So why would you go older with Guy Gardner? Unless you're playing with the timeline of when Hal Jordan became, Guy Gardner. So maybe they're saying he was younger then, older now. I don't know.
I mean, I know in the
that's
I know in the comics, Guy Gardner was the original choice for Abin-Sur's ring.
He was equally as worthy. Yeah,
he was the original choice to be, they were equally as worthy. But Hal was closer to Abin-Sur's ring, so it went to him instead of Guy
because he was dying.
So maybe they're going off that where he's like they could spin it to where he's older. He was the first choice, but I don't know. We don't know until we see how he's played in the movie.
Yeah.
It could either be as simple as they just James Gunn cast him because he just likes Filoni, or there is a reason why he's older.
Yeah. And I want to emphasize, that's not a bad choice. He's not a bad actor.
No, I love
it's
him.
not bad casting. He's great. But it's just from the age standpoint.
Is this age racism?
It's ageism.
Ageism? Are we ageisming him?
But we also have Isabella Merced is Hawkgirl, Dora the Explorer.
Yeah, that's actually pretty good.
Yeah, that's not bad. And then I don't know how to. I think Eddie Gathegi. Is that how we pronounce it? Eddie Gathegi.
For who?
I'm sorry if I butchered this name. Eddie Gathegi. He's playing Michael Holt, Mr. Terrific.
Oh yeah.
Which is, I believe, the first live action Mr. Terrific. Is it not?
No, it's a little.
Did he show up on a show
in CW? Yeah.
Oh, that doesn't count.
The Arrowverse.
Yeah, it doesn't count. And then Anthony Carrigan is playing Metamorpho. So that's what we already knew.
That's a great one.
That is a good one.
That's a freaking great
one.
The
characters that they've named so far, you're kind of like, all right.
No, it may
all right.
Dude.
This could be fun. But now we've got.
Do we have Jimmy Olsen action?
We have Jimmy Olsen. The last few days we've gotten Skylar Gisando.
He looks just
like Jimmy Olsen.
He's even got the freckles.
Yeah.
So good.
So Skylar Gisando is playing Jimmy Olsen, and they announced Maria Gabriela de Faria has been cast to play the engineer.
Yes, that's a good one.
That's a cool reveal.
That's
that the engineer
really
is
cool one.
In this one, that is a cool one because of the ramifications of what that could mean.
Yeah, because they're setting up the DCEU universe, which James Gunn teased a while ago in his timeline.
Is that like DC Comics? The DCU universe?
DCU universe. He set up the universe where we already know we're getting an Authority movie, and she's a member of the Authority. Right. So he's clearly placing her in here to like potentially, set up this Justice League team, which is what the Authority is. They're like the Justice League, but they're willing to go that extra step. They're willing to do the things the Justice League aren't able to do. And if you know anything about the comic books recently, Superman actually formed a new version of the Authority, which she was on to, again, do the stuff the Justice League wasn't willing to do. So maybe he's taking that. He's the Superman in this movie is going to be like, hey, engineer, your power is like turning into like liquid metal and stuff and AI tech. Help me defeat Brainiac. And then she goes off and, joins the Authority, and that just builds his universe.
Yeah.
So I know people were like up in arms. They're like, oh no, she's gonna be a horrible villain. It's like, she's not really a villain though.
No.
And it makes more sense that
she just said is kind of is.
She's like an anti-hero.
It's like an anti-hero.
What's probably gonna happen?
She has villainous tendencies.
They're probably gonna come head to head for some reason, and then by the end they're gonna team up, defeat Brainiac, and then the Authority will be formed later on.
It's definitely about the Authority.
For sure.
He's setting the stage for that. Yeah.
And Gods and Monsters, the first chapter, that's literally the last film of his first chapter, or at least what he's told us so far.
And so far, from what you're seeing, it looks like smart, like, kind of how he has been with all the Marvel stuff. And then even the Suicide Squad, he was very intentional with the characters that he chose. And he does a good job.
It's a lot of characters in this movie so far, though.
It is. And, normally I would be concerned about that because I was concerned about when they announced, like BVS, right? And all the people that were going to be in that was going to be, and I was like, oh, this is too much.
Yeah.
But because I've seen James Gunn do this and do it well, I'm not as concerned. It's like
he's good with ensemble.
He does a good job with intentionality and bringing a large cast together and using them very well. So I'm not as worried about that. But, we're not even done because we also got our Lex Luthor. The next Lex Luthor is Nicholas Hoult, which I think that's my favorite casting.
It's perfect. It's really funny considering he was one of the top choices to be Batman in Matt Reeves' The Batman. It was literally between him and Pattinson. Pattinson obviously got it. So now he's like, you know what? I'm going to be the arch nemesis to Superman. I'm going to be Lex Luthor.
But you know why I love this the most? I love this casting is because he's a tall guy. He can put some muscle on his frame.
Which I hope they do.
And
I want to bulkier Lex.
Yeah, and if they do that, it'll be the first time we see more physically imposing Lex Luthor that can stand face to face with Superman.
I believe, if I remember correctly, he's 6'2", and I know Corn Sweat is 6'4".
Yeah.
So that would work really well.
It would work really well.
Yeah.
So I'm very interested to see that.
He just needs to put meat on, though, because Corn Sweat has put on some muscle.
And Holt is a skinny guy. So he'll definitely need to get in the gym.
Yeah.
If that's in fact the look to that, which I've said for forever. I have been waiting for them to do the modern DC take on Lex Luthor, which is he's a bigger, like, the bald, but like a bulkier, more physically imposing villain. So it's not just his intellect.
Holt is 6'3", so he's an inch taller than I said.
Okay, so they're be about eye to eye.
Oh, that's good.
So, and I love that. So I'm hoping that's the direction that Gunn takes this, because I would love to see that for the first time. And Holt is a great actor. So this could be
The Great. Anyone? Oh my God, he's so good.
Dude, he's so good.
Have you seen The Great?
No, I haven't seen The Great, but
God.
he's played in a bunch of stuff, but he did the Tolkien movie.
Oh, did he play Tolkien?
Yeah. He was great. It was just called Tolkien, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And he was great. He also played in
he's in a lot of things.
Didn't he play Charles Dickens? Was that him? Or is that Dan Stevens?
He was in Mad Max, going back to that.
Yeah, he was in Mad Max.
Day. That was him.
Fury Road.
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah. So but that's I think my favorite. But then we also got Sarah.
I would lose like all the nerd credit in the world. He was Beast in the Fox X-Men films.
Oh yes. I freaking forgot about that.
Uh-huh.
Oh my God. That was terrible though.
I mean,
it was bad. He wasn't bad.
Yeah, he wasn't bad.
But the look of it was bad.
I mean, he looked like a Muppet. It's fine.
Nothing looked more Muppet-like than Kelsey Grammer.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
But then he redeemed himself being CGI at the end of Marvels.
It's a bad CGI. But we also got Sarah Sempao. Is it Sempao? Or Senpaio?
Sure. I'm not sure.
Senpaio. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Either way.
No.
Yes.
No.
She's playing Eve Teschmacher. Do you remember that from the first Superman, the early Superman movies?
Yes, from the Reeves one. She was the
Miss Teschmacher.
Miss Teschmacher. I was
Gene Hackman.
I was hoping that we were gonna get like a Mercy Graves or something like that.
That would have been cool
because she's like.
I mean, she's kind of in that.
Yeah, but Mercy is like the badass, like right-hand man to Lex who can like hold her own and like,
I have a feeling that's what they're gonna do with this character.
But then why not just make her Mercy?
That's a good question. That's a fair question.
And I love in the animated universe, the DCAU, how she had like that dope like skirt suit thing, and she was just like a ninja. Yeah. It was so good.
Yeah,
like because she was like it was like that limo driver kind of suit with the gloves and everything, and she would just beat the crap out of you. So good. Yeah,
I'd be curious to see which direction they go, because the Teschmacher character has been portrayed a number of times actually, I believe, in live action and in animated. So I'm not.
Yeah, I just looked it up, dude, because I had to show you. I had to give you a flashback. Mercy Graves. Dude, so good. Yeah. So
like the
good.
Driver.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like that limo driver look. Yeah. Love it.
Yeah. So either way, so far the cast looks great. Some really smart casting choices in my opinion. My favorite again is just because I don't know David Cornsweet. Is it Cornsweet or it doesn't matter. David Cornsweet. I don't know like that much about him. I haven't seen that much of his
He's
work.
been in things, but I haven't seen anything.
So, but
it's gonna be Cavill-esque in that sense, where Cavill obviously did stuff before like Superman, Cavill, but like Superman is what brought him to A-list status, and then he was like Mission Impossible and freaking Geralt and all that stuff like that, or Geralt. So yeah,
I think from a look perspective, James Gunn nailed it. The kid looks spot on.
He looks like Cavill.
Yeah, he looks. he's in the same
he's a younger Cavill
structure as Cavill, so he looks like he's gonna be a very good Superman from a visual standpoint, just looking like the
Do you think it's possible, like acting wise or just portrayal wise, we might like him even more than Cavill?
I think our biases are going to be in play on that one, because if you kind of were into this, that's our Superman.
Cavill, that's the yeah.
Because like I grew up watching Reeves when I was a kid.
I think Man of Steel came out in 2008. Yeah.
So he's been Superman for a long time. It's kind of how we see Superman, and he was such a good Superman. So I don't know. I mean, it depends. It's at bare minimum, you could hope that it's on par.
It's like the argument, which is the better Superman theme, John Williams or
John Williams?
You didn't let me finish. Hans Zimmer.
No, stop it. The Hans Zimmer score. There's a lot of people who argue the Hans Zimmer score.
We did a poll not a while ago. I think Hans Zimmer won 51% to 49%.
But that's not a fair vote, because the majority of the demographics in our audience is of an age where that's their Superman theme song.
Isn't our main demographic, is it like 19 to 36 or something like that?
Yeah, it's in like your age and younger.
That's my age grade. Yeah.
Yeah, that's your Superman theme song.
But I'm still a bigger Williams fan though. Like if I had
the Williams score?
Yeah.
Oh,
it's John Williams.
Yeah, but I don't know.
That's Superman. That's all.
I don't know.
They do it in the freaking, the Justice League movie and all that stuff. All
No, you're not going to get me arguing with me.
And you already know.
That is the Superman theme song.
The Zimmer one is pretty,
it's
First
great.
Flight is pretty
I love
great.
it. I'm a huge Hans Zimmer fan. Yeah, but as far as a Superman theme song, it will forever
Let's
be
play
the
it and
John
get a copyright strike.
Yeah. But yeah, the casting, I love so far what he's doing. I love the characters that he's choosing, and I'm very interested to see. I'm starting to get like, all right, let's see what he does.
No, I'm.
You know what it is? It's that I know that the DCEU is finally coming to an end with Aquaman, and I'm like, let's do this. Let's move into the new thing.
Superman Legacy has so much riding on it. It is make or break.
It has to hit.
I love the argument. There was an argument going around online for a while. It's like, what do you think had more pressure, right? Infinite or Endgame, right? Avengers Endgame or Superman Legacy. What had more pressure? I fell on the side to where Superman Legacy has more pressure because Endgame, though it was the last film of like that first 10 years, it wasn't going to make people hate the MCU if it was like all right or not that good. People would be like, oh, that's unfortunate and that sucks.
Endgame?
Yeah. If it didn't land, would you be like, I'm out. MCU's over for me.
Out? Well, I mean, not in the set. If they had concluded that really, really poorly, I think that would have really ticked everybody off.
It would have, but you still would have been a fan of the MCU and saw their next film, right?
Everything that came out after or before it. No, but it would have soured.
No, but like after, like all their other movies, would you have been like, I'm done because Endgame you didn't stick it?
No, everything after that did that for me.
My point is because Superman Legacy, if that doesn't land, that's it.
Agreed.
It has to. There's no like, we'll
because
give you
they're resetting
shot.
the whole franchise.
Yes, and us DC fans are very impatient at this point, and rightfully so. So it's like because we're still having Aquaman come out, the second one, and it really is going to mean nothing going forward. So if you don't land Superman, which is going to be the start of this new universe, and you're introducing Guy Gardner, Hawkgirl, Metamorpho, like all these characters, and that's the stuff he's telling us.
Yeah.
We could very easily get like a Batman cameo or another big cameo in the film, because if that's what he's saying, there's clearly stuff he's holding back, it's got to be the good stuff. So
it's true. And he's going in a very different direction than what we got under the Zack Snyder era, if you want to call it that.
One of the cool things he said that got me excited is that someone asked him how it's going to be, how the tone's going to be. He said it's going to be like real life. It's going to be dark. It's going to be happy. It's going to be light. It's going to be up. It's going to be down. So I'm like, all right. So he's not really going for like, we're doing a dark universe. We're going a bright universe. He's like, no, it's going to follow the emotions of the characters. Yeah. So I'm which I can get down with. I'm very curious.
Yeah, I can get down with that.
But anyway.
Moving on in DC news, Zack Snyder with all this DC, specifically Superman Legacy stuff and the end of the DCEU approaching with the Aquaman film. Zack Snyder is back sticking his thumb in the middle of everything because he has to. He can't help himself.
He's on a press tour for his new
for
Rebel Moon. Yeah,
which looks good.
It's getting like 2 or 3 films and spin-offs.
Yeah.
Already. The first one's not even out. He's getting multiple films and spin-offs are in the works or in talks.
That's crazy. He's getting essentially what James Cameron got with Avatar.
That means
I'm thinking that's their reasoning. Netflix's reasoning.
They have to have see something. They're like, oh no, this could hit. Clearly, if you're throwing hundreds of millions of dollars at this one director who's writing and directing, you're seeing something. You're like, this could hit.
Well, I think it's smart on Netflix's part because I think they were looking at it from the standpoint, because it's no secret that Netflix has been looking for their big universe, their big world.
They kind of started doing that with The Witcher
movies, whatever. Yeah, they've tried a lot of things.
Witcher was the closest thing.
What was the name of that sci-fi show? That had a couple of seasons with Joel Kinnaman.
Oh, I love the first season. I know what you're talking about.
Shoot, I can't remember the name of it all the time. But they, Sandman.
After
Altered Carbon. Altered Carbon.
Yes.
Yeah.
First season was great.
And they spent so much money on that. So there was a bunch of different things that they've tried and nothing has really landed. So they've continued to look for that thing. Now here's Zack Snyder, that's this kind of free agent who has this huge following coming off the Snyderverse, right? And all these disgruntled Snyderverse fans who are looking for him, looking to support him on whatever his next big venture is because of what happened with all of that. And he never really got his shot and all this kind of stuff.
It's crazy how loyal his diehard following is.
Oh, he's built like this massive diehard following.
I mean, I'm a Snyder fan, but
I am too. I mean, I think he does a good job. It's just I don't understand the obsession in my person, but I know people, I have friends that just think he's like the second coming.
And this, like, the funny thing about Snyder, the things that makes news is like, you know, he just said that like the DCEU is over, right?
Yeah.
But it's like,
and people are like, oh my gosh, it's like it's news.
yeah, it's like this is not new. Like James Gunn told us this forever.
But it was like they needed that for closure. They needed that.
Like even freaking Jason Momoa went on the Tonight Show telling Fallon like, yeah, this is like Aquaman's the end. Yet like a week or two after that, people are like, but Snyder said it's the end, so now it's really the end.
Now it's really over because it's his and he only gets it.
Yeah,
the Godfather has to get it.
Like James Gunn and Peter Safran, the two who actually make the decisions about that.
Like he's Lucius up in the Emperor's box.
Yeah.
You know?
It's like you realize James Gunn is the guy now, right? Like if he says it's done, then it's done, and he said it was done.
Yeah, he said it's done. So it's very interesting. So one of the things he said, so that was one of the things that Zack Snyder has said recently. He zeroed in, and someone asked the question, I suppose, on his Vero account, and he said, yeah, it's it. Done. Correct. It's over. And then he also has made a couple of comments, one of which was that he would be willing to join the new DC universe and come back to do a good retelling of the Dark Knight saga.
Oh, he would do a true adaptation,
a true representation of the graphic novel is what he said.
Which is not shocking.
Of the Dark Knight Returns.
Because that's basically what he wants to do with BVS.
Yeah.
It's like
but it's like, why didn't you do that then?
Because it's you couldn't. Building a universe, there's no way you could. Because that's the end of Batman's career. So he had to take elements in a way to like.
I mean, but that's where Ben Affleck was essentially at. It was like the old Batman.
Yeah, but like at the end of the dark, if you were to do a true live action adaptation at the end, it's like Batman's pretty much done, right? And he has like all of his bats take up like and fight with him.
Can I make a counter
even though
argument?
Frank Miller like continued that and did more things, but you know what I mean. It was supposed to be like the last Batman story.
But would it have been worse than what we got? No, it would have been better.
No, I mean, even Ben Affleck, I think that's why Ben Affleck's bat suit and Batman just looks the best because it's heavily inspired from that big, thick gorilla-like Batman with the big fat bat symbol on the gray suit. So I think I would love to see that because Ben Affleck would return for sure. I think because he would go out on a high note because you could do one long movie, you could do like Peter Jackson style.
Yeah, but how do you recreate that scene where they already did in BVS, where Batman's armored up and they go face to face, they go head to head.
And imagine you get Cavill back for that as well.
I mean, I don't know how you would do that.
Because it's Elseworlds. It's Elseworlds.
I guess
all of us, no one would care because that's the only way you'd be able to do it.
Recreating the same scene.
I mean, yeah, but with kryptonite arrows and a one-armed Oliver Queen.
I'm just saying, if you wanted to do that, you messed up.
But also,
you done effed up.
Yeah, but no, I would still want to see it, and I'm sure a lot of other people would want to see it.
I guess
because the armored Batman suit we got was awesome, and it did look like a live action version, but he obviously strayed from the book, so he could sure do one that's a little closer but more modernized and realistic for the big screen. All I'm saying is it could work and people would show up.
My thing is this is why it bothers me. Because I feel like it's just Zack Snyder continually giving fodder to his angry base. Oh, yeah. Well, that just is going to go, see, give him freaking Dark Knight Returns.
To be fair, in that same interview, he also said if Marvel rang, he would do a Daredevil and Elektra movie based on Frank Miller's Elektra Lives Again. So that would be another really cool one.
But they won't. What I'm saying is like his following won't have any reason to get all worked up about that.
And then he also said that if Disney came a knocking with Star Wars, he would say no because they got it handled. No, they don't.
They do not.
No,
but also because he pitched them Rebel Moon and they turned him down.
Is that for real?
That's for real.
He pitched it.
That's what Rebel Moon is.
Wait,
he pitched them a violent rated R Star Wars idea. And they turned him down. They said that's not in line with the Star Wars brand.
Is that fact?
That's fact.
I did not know that. Wow.
And he took that and it became Rebel Moon and eventually went to Netflix.
So Kathleen Kennedy was like, nay.
I don't know if it was Kennedy yet. I can't remember the timeline, but
was it?
Probably was. It was because I believe it was Disney. Yeah, so I guess it had to be.
Oh, speaking of which, you got to mention this at least briefly. Our boy Filoni.
He got another big promotion.
He is chief creative officer of Lucasfilm.
Yeah.
He's like basically right under Kennedy now. He's making his way. He's one step closer.
Just cut the rope, guys. Listen, I'm happy.
Are they pandering?
They could be pandering.
Are they
pandering the Filonis?
Are they just pandering and pull the trigger already?
There's so many quotes that I wanna, but I'm not gonna.
I'm just saying, make him the guy already. Make him the guy. He's him. Make him.
Listen, here's my thing. It's like, I'm super happy for Dave Filoni. He deserves this promotion. He should have been there a long time ago. And, maybe it's because he didn't feel like he was ready for it. Whatever the reasoning is, he's clearly the guy who should be steering the ship in regard to Star Wars. But it's like, dude, can we just cut the rope with the whole, like, the executive tier? Can we just... I've never seen a group of executives more worthy to be fired in my life.
It's not that simple, Tim. There's a stone. It's not that simple.
Oh, God. Oh, but yeah, I'm happy for Dave Filoni.
I love how, if you know, you know.
If you know, everybody knows. Everybody knows. But it's definitely like a deserved. It's definitely a deserved.
With all of your might, you are fighting it. You are just holding it.
There's so many things. It's definitely a deserved promotion. And what was his? Because he had gotten a promotion prior.
He did, like a year or two ago.
Yeah, it was last year.
I don't remember. I actually thought it was chief creative officer, but apparently not, because that's his new promotion.
He was like director of creative development or something to that effect.
But now,
whatever it was, but now he's like the guy. But the thing I didn't like about it is when they asked him about his new position, he was still talking about it as if he still isn't the one that is checking like saying yes, no, yes, no. He's just coming into the process for each project earlier than he was previously.
If you're the chief creative officer of something,
that's what didn't make sense. The buck stops with you typically.
Creatively, you make the decision, unless like you're Kathleen Kennedy's like, nay. But that's like the only scenario.
Which is why it kind of made me a little bit, and maybe this is totally wrong, I hope it is, that I'm wondering is this just more Disney making moves that present something to the fan base to appease people? Yeah, but it's not as meaningful internally as we think it is. But I guess we'll have to see.
All right. I have a surprise for you, Tim.
I cannot wait for this.
This is going to go right into Marvel and Disney because that's what we're transitioning to. I held off on this because I needed to know your true reaction.
Okay.
This is a CNBC article. There was a summit on Wednesday, a deal book summit with Bob Iger.
Oh, this is not going to be good. This is not going to be good.
Those of you, I'm going to be ranting about this everywhere for a very long time.
Oh, I can't wait.
On Variant, on my Twitter, just everywhere. Okay.
Oh, boy.
This is the headline, Tim. This is the headline.
This just happened.
Wednesday.
Okay.
Broke
a couple days
yesterday ago. Or whatever.
All right.
Disney CEO Bob Iger says companies' movies have been too focused on messaging. No, Tim. No. Disney Chief Executive Officer Bob Iger said Wednesday he will no longer tolerate his company's partners and creative team prioritizing messaging and storytelling. Quote, creators lost sight of what their number one objective needed to be, Iger said at the Deal Book Summit in New York on Wednesday. Quote, we have to entertain first. It's not about messages. End quote.
I have to go. Is that real?
There it is. CNBC quotes.
This mother freaker.
It gets even better. It keeps going.
Are you kidding me, Bob Iger? Listen.
Do you see why I held off?
Listen. Hold on. Listen to me. Do you know how long I've been saying this Joker has sidestepped all of the freaking culpability? It's insane.
No, it gets better.
No way.
Yes, it does.
Because this is like the financial statements that I was telling you about because they're getting sued by the shareholder.
Hold on, you're making me cry. Hold on. Okay,
my God.
No, Tim. Iger said Disney's prioritization of messaging over storytelling peaked while he was gone. It's Hold on. In 2022, alluding to the 11 months he left his job as Disney's executive chairman. Iger had been in charge of creative endeavors in 2020 to 2021, even while Bob Chapek ran the company as CEO. This mother freaker is saying he's pawning it off on Chapek, bro.
What camera is on? Bob Chapek. I'm sorry, dude. I'm sorry. You did not deserve this. You were not very good at your job either.
No, we got.
But you didn't deserve this, man. Listen. Okay, hold on a second. Let's just evaluate for a second. Okay, who hired Kathleen Kennedy? Bob Iger did. Okay. Yes, he got the blessing from George. Yes. But freaking Bob Iger hired Kathleen Kennedy. You know who hired Kevin Feige? Bob Iger did. And that worked out really well for a while until things went off the rails in phase 4. And you know who's CEO of Disney when that had started? When they came out and started saying, hey, we're going to make this about diversity, equity, and inclusion and all this kind of stuff, which totally changed to messaging first? Bob Iger!
Do you see why I waited?
I don't even, how can you have those kinds of balls? This dude must lean forward when he walked from the weight of stones that heavy. That's crazy,
but dude. This is coming off the heels. I don't know.
That's crazy.
This is coming off the heels. I don't know if you saw this as well. That 2023 is the first year since 2014 that Disney has not had a single $1 billion movie. So right after that got reported, he came out with this because the money's hurting now, and he's being like, whoa, wait.
We just kidding, everybody. We was just kidding. It wasn't me. It was the one-armed man.
He's like, wait, you're not paying? Okay, so maybe we gotta start listening and do what the consumers want.
Oh my God.
But here,
that is the gall.
Final quote.
The unmitigated gall.
Final quote. We have entertained with values and with having a positive impact on the world in many different ways. Black Panther is a great example of that, Iger said. I like being able to entertain if you can infuse it with a positive message and have good impact on the world. Fantastic. But that should not be the objective. When I came back, what I have really tried to do is return to our roots. End quote.
I don't even know what to say to that. I don't even know what to say to it. It's the most insane, that's deranged. That's deranged. How can you have, you have to think that you have a collective Men in Black, what do they call the freaking memory wiper?
This is so good.
You can pull up quotes from Bob Iger from just a couple of years ago where he was talking about how the importance of, social change and being involved in this, that, and the other thing. And this isn't even a statement about what I agree with and what I don't agree with. It's just the way that these corporate heads try to sidestep their involvement in things that are not successful to save their own legacy is crazy. And they bank on our ignorance, on us just forgetting, being mind wiped to believe oh yeah, I must have been the guy before this guy because he's clearly going to save it all. He didn't fix it. He didn't break it at all. It wasn't him. It was the other guy.
That's it. We're done. Podcast over. We're not beating that. Podcast is done.
Oh, I cannot understand.
Dude, but how? Okay, so.
Because I thought it was one thing. What I was referencing before is Disney was forced in a financial disclosure to admit, yes, some of the things we've done have come with political risk, et cetera, et cetera. That's one thing. It's another thing for Bob Iger, the CEO of the company, who has helmed this beast for the last 11, 12, 13 years, however long it is now.
He created modern Disney. He acquired Marvel. He acquired Star Wars. Every single
solitary thing, even the things that went on under Bob Chapek. Because the other thing he's failing to mention there, Bobby, is that he was the freaking chairman of the board when freaking Chapek was CEO.
The funny thing is, CNBC, who had this interview with him, they did say, because after he said that, they did say Iger was in charge in executive endeavors for 2020 and 2021, even while Bob Chapek ran the company. So they did acknowledge that, like, Bob, like, you still were, like, behind the scenes in a big way.
Way to go, CNBC, on doing some reporting.
But dude,
because it's so, like, duh.
There's a lot to obviously unpack there, and you already went on a rant. But, like, I want to go back to the main thing, at least for me, the fact that, like, the number one objective needs to be storytelling, right?
Mary and Joseph.
Like, dude, like, quote, the CEO, like, again, like you said earlier, this isn't a matter of what side you fall on, or what you do or don't believe in, right? This is what their CEO is saying. This is a quote. Yeah. Creators lost sight of what their number one objective needed to be. We have to entertain first. It's not about messages, end quote. That's their CEO.
So this is for all of you who listen to the show, watch the show, and end up in the comments talking about how we're being negative or whatever. And we keep saying to you, no, Disney themselves is finally starting to acknowledge this. This is not us speculating. This is not us just trying to be negative about Disney on things that haven't happened. This is empirical fact. Like, this is what Disney has been doing, and it has resulted in catastrophic financial debacles for the company.
The first year since 2014.
Catastrophic might be strong.
Yeah.
Because their stuff still makes money.
But it's the first year since 2014, and like almost, it's the first year in almost a decade, not one of their movies hit $1 billion. So again, clearly, all this means is, in summary, really, all this means is if their CEO is now being like, oh, maybe we should focus on just telling good stories and not sending messages out there, they're hurting. That's what that means. If they're finally willing to just do what an entertainment business should do and just tell good stories.
I would go further. If the people who, because as I've said many times on this show, a big issue with Disney and a lot of these media companies that are struggling is that they're run by ideologues. The reason they've doubled down, even after the audience has told, the fan bases have told them overwhelmingly with results at the box office, because at first it was just noise. People were just yelling and they would get upset and they would just post things on the internet. Then that was phase one. Phase two went, okay, you're not going to listen to our complaints online. You're just going to respond to those complaints by coming out and literally bashing the fan base, which is what Marvel did, by the way. Right? And that was also under Bob Iger. So that happened, right? So they said, okay, you're not going to listen to us. You're going to make fun. You're going to call us a bunch of names because we don't like what you're doing.
Yeah.
Then we're going to respond by just not consuming your stuff. And the result has been a massive drop-off. And I'm not just even talking about Marvel. This has been true across the board in multiple franchises.
Well, no, that's another thing. This isn't just Marvel. He's talking about the Walt Disney Corporation.
Yeah, and it goes beyond Pixar, even Disney.
This is Disney, like classics, Marvel, Star Wars. This is just Disney, every IP they own.
And again, just for everyone who's going to start telling others, it's not just this or that or the other thing. I'm not saying that the political stuff is the only reason that that money and box office numbers have fallen off. There are multiple reasons that are affecting it, but this is one of the big ones.
Well, again, if the CEO is in this quote specifically, he's not addressing anything else.
Yeah.
He's full on acknowledging that he knows that's a big reason. Because again, in his quote, he says we have to entertain first. It's not about messages. So he's acknowledging in that quote, there's no way around it. That is a direct quote from the CEO of Disney. He's acknowledging that is a big problem, and he's wanting to change that to help correct the problem.
Which is why I'm going to be very interested to see if some of these rumors that we're about to talk about are true.
But isn't this
starting with, since we're talking about it, starting with the possibility that they're going to gender swap Silver Surfer. Now, I know that a female version of the Silver Surfer has appeared in comics.
But it's not even the real Silver Surfer. It's an alternate version named Juno.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's not the actual Silver Surfer.
It's
not Norrin Rad. Yeah. It is not the Silver Surfer. And it's certainly for all of you who want to make the argument, because I've seen some of our peers even that have been like, if you don't like this, then you don't know comics. No, you know exactly what people are saying, and you know exactly what people are upset about. People are have not been like asking Marvel to bring us Juno on the live action. People have been asking for an MCU version of Norrin Radd Silver Surfer.
Yeah, 616 main version. Yeah,
fully aware of that. That is the Silver Surfer that everybody knows and loves. Nobody really knows this other character. She didn't even play a huge role in Marvel Comics on any levels, particularly in relation to the Fantastic Four, who they're about to introduce for the first time. And yet, there is rumors, and again, we do not know that this is true. This might not be true. But there's heavy rumor that they are looking to make the Silver Surfer, when they introduce him, her, whatever. A female.
Yeah, that's been a rumor for a long time, and the Anya Taylor-Joy casting is only kind of, further pushed that rumor. But I will say, this is very interesting. So you remember I told you, okay, all I'm going to say is I may or may not have a source that tells me things. I know. Okay. All right. I gotta phrase this very carefully. Okay. I may or may not get intel or know things that are going to happen before they happen. Case in point, remember Sentry? Long time ago, how I said Steven Yeun was going to be Sentry. Right. And now it's like, oh, he's Sentry because Robert Kirkman, quote unquote, leaked it. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, this same source is saying that was no accident, and nothing that they're doing right now is an accident. So all these leaks of Anya Taylor-Joy,
this is my theory,
Steven Yeun, and all that stuff being cast is to test the waters to see.
Dang it! I should have said my theory first.
To test the waters to see how the fans respond, because specifically with the Robert Kirkman one, because it's also like, I know for a fact Robert Kirkman is very, very cautious with spoilers. That is his thing. Even when he drops issues, he doesn't want spoilers, out in the world too many days, too soon, right? Even if an issue's out, he doesn't want that spoiled right away. So I find it very unlikely that he would slip and spoil something like Steven Yeun being Sentry. And again, something that I heard is that wasn't a slip, that was to gauge the water. And now it is no longer a sealed deal if Steven Yeun will be playing Sentry.
That was my theory.
So they probably are doing that with Anya Taylor-Joy as well. And if they're listening, they know they shouldn't go that route.
But this is my point. And this is what I was going to say. If that, in fact, is even something they're considering, you couple it with what he just said, it's like, are you guys this broken in the brain? You honestly don't just inherently know. That comes up in a meeting, and you're having this mindset of obviously we went in a direction that people aren't interested in. They want to be entertained. They don't want to be preached at. They don't want to get, social activism and all this kind of stuff just never ending, being pushed down their throat, right? Whether you agree or disagree, this is not the point. Yeah. This would be annoying either way. Yeah. Right? So if you're thinking that, and that gets brought up in a meeting, how is it that you're not automatically going, no, that's stupid, Pete, that'll everybody's going to get pissed off if we do that. Okay. How does that not happen? That's what I'm saying. It's what's going on in these rooms? You're not connecting these two things, because obviously that's going to annoy people because they're going to see it as more of the same nonsense.
I think what's going on now is, especially with all these leaks happening so rapidly with Pedro Pascal as,
all of these different rumors. This is why I added all this today.
Cillian Murphy as Dr. Doom. They're seeing, and Anya Taylor-Joy as Silver Surfer, Sentry by Steven Yeun. They're all leaking within 2 weeks of each other.
And around the Marvels.
And engaging how people feel. Overall, people are like, yeah, we can get down on Pedro. Overall, people are actually really excited if Cillian Murphy plays Dr. Doom. So okay, we will probably go that route. Hopefully he says yes. But then you got other ones where people are kind of iffy about Steven Yeun being Sentry, and overwhelmingly people are like, heck no, with Anya Taylor-Joy making Silver Surfer a female. So, and with Bob Iger saying this, I'm wondering if he's having them do this so he'd be like, oh yeah, see, no, we can't go that route now because we're not going to make money if we go that route.
And this isn't even about Anya Taylor-Joy. She's a good actress. This is not about her in any way, shape, or form. Because I think my feeling was, because it happened right around the Marvels collapse. The Marvels comes out, total
it's a huge
disaster.
Success.
Yeah, it's huge.
No,
so,
it's raking it in.
Yeah, raking it in. $46 million opening weekend, $10 million second weekend, $9 million over the 5-day holiday weekend, $190 million worldwide so far in 4 weeks.
It's on track to be not the biggest superhero movie flop of all time, but the biggest movie flop in Hollywood's history, dethroning John Carter, which is insane. Because John Carter lost $250 million. This is going to lose around that.
But here's the thing. They know full well. So all the people that are running this, they know their jobs are on the line with the shareholders. This isn't about, they don't care. They clearly do not care what the fans think. It's the shareholders.
This is the thing.
They know that they are getting to the point where they're starting to walk on thin ice with the shareholders. And when money starts to hit, that's the only thing that's going to make them react.
Ever.
Because clearly the fan base wasn't leading to any kind of, I'm convinced these people would double down even now if they could.
It's the Bill Burr joke. You gotta follow the money. That's the thing. That's
100%.
Like,
yeah,
that's the thing. Like, because people were like, it's crazy. It's not that like Disney or any of these companies, they don't care. They don't care what they're giving us, right? They don't care if we agree with what they're giving us, if we don't agree. The only thing they care about is making money, right? So they're not doing any of this stuff to be like, oh, see, we're diversifying, we're giving you this. They don't, at the end of the day, they don't really care. Any big business doesn't. Any business like that is all about money. This is a perfect example because they were able to, Disney being bigger than most, was able to sustain doing whatever they want to do for so long because they're freaking Disney. But now we're starting to see with their CEO coming out, being like, oh, so you know how the fans said just focus on good storytelling? I think we're going to focus on good storytelling, which all that means is it's finally starting to hurt. Because it's all about money. Because they're losing box office sales. Just follow the freaking money.
But they've
it's
also
just about the money.
And this is the problem, I think. And this is true of the Disney animation. You pick it, Disney Pictures, Disney Animation, Lucasfilm, Marvel, whatever, anything under the Disney umbrella. These people that are running the show over there, they are such politically radical ideologues. Doesn't matter left or right. You can have radical ideologues on either side. There's such radical ideologues that they were willing, clearly, because the numbers have been dropping for a while. The fans have been responding for a while. So they've been willing to even take less money and continue to go because they just want to leverage the franchise for their own agendas. And that is like, okay, you can do that. You're running the company. You were hired. You've got the purse strings. You've got the creative control. You can do that. But then the consequences will come. And now it's reached the point that, and this is the part where it gets, is like, how long can we do this until it gets to such a financial point where now the actual shareholders get involved, the big voices in the room get involved and go, no. Now you're affecting my pocket, because they don't care until it affects their pocket. Once that starts, now they're worried about their job.
See,
that's the only thing that seems to be really dictating any of this. And that's a problem, dude, especially because this is an entertainment company. We're not talking about somebody who's like, mining for some minerals or something somewhere. This is an entertainment company. It's meant to entertain the masses. You should be listening to your audience because your whole sole purpose.
Yeah, that's what Iger said. But that's what Iger's going to do.
Yeah, thank God. Thank God, Iger.
You're not listening to the man? Literally, that's his quote, Tim. That's his quote. Creators lost sight. They lost sight, Tim. Okay? They lost sight of what their number one objective needed to be. I think all of this, I can't take it. I think all of this, these rumors and all this massive information dump that's happened over the last few weeks I think a lot of it has been intentional propaganda that's been disseminated by the Disney company. This is my theory. I don't know this for a fact. There's a good chance that a lot of this is just being dumped out there and Disney is kind of doing all the leaking to do those two things. One is to test the waters, but the other big purpose is it creates sensory overload, this information overload, so it distracts from things that are going, that would further tick people off, like the Marvels, like it's crazy. The new Wish movie that is bombing as well. It's a crazy thing too, because it's not performing very well. I love Disney. Like I just, my family just went to Disney World. Like I love them. They do a lot of things that make me mad. They don't make all the choices that I would agree with, but I don't think any corporation or movie or whatever is going to. But it all really comes back because it's not even like, I don't think like you're bashing it or I'm bashing it. It's like this is literally what their CEO said.
Yeah.
So it's like,
well, I'm bashing it a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm bashing it a lot, actually.
But like, it's just, I keep coming back to it's like, we're not even the one. This is what their CEO said.
Yeah.
I am literally just quoting verbatim what Bob Iger said. So you can't even argue that. Again, I've said it several times already, but it just got to really drive this home because it's the internet and I know people aren't going to listen. Their own CEO, the guy who's literally built this modern era of House of Mouse. Again, I said it earlier. He acquired Marvel Studios and Marvel. He acquired Lucasfilm. He Pixar was like all under him. This is the modern CEO of modern Disney, launched Disney Plus. That guy, Mr. Walt of the modern era himself.
He is the architect of the Disney that exists today.
Yes, he's that guy, right? Is the one who out of his damn mouth at a summit in New York said that they now have to focus on entertaining first and not just the messages. You can't make that up. You can't, that's doesn't matter what I said, that's what their CEO said. Don't talk to him.
Look, I'll just say this. I hope that he means that. And I hope that the company, because again, I am at heart a storyteller. I love film. I love telling stories through as many mediums as I can. It annoys one of the things that annoy me more than anything is when supposed entertainment companies refuse to actually focus on what will entertain people. What are people looking for in terms of good storytelling? And they try and use these things for whether, I don't care if it's political reasons, just flat out greed. Like you could point to Transformers. I don't care who you are. You maybe like some of the Transformers, but there's no arguing. Some of these Transformers movies were just trash. Yeah. Right? And that was just a big studio, just they like the first one.
Give them something shiny.
Yeah, just put a bunch of shiny objects on the screen and, that sort of a thing. And you just leverage it to make as much money and you milk that cow. And they don't really care if it's good or not. They just throw it out there, throw a bunch of money at it, and make something shiny and they'll go see it. And that works for a minute because people are so nostalgically tied to these franchises until people realize oh, you don't give a crap at all. You're not even trying at this point. And then they just give up. And then they dump that and they move on to the next thing. That crap annoys the life out of me.
It's just so fascinating to me being us being content creators and, giving content that we know our audience and stuff wants, it's like a business, right? This is a business.
Sure,
it's a business.
absolutely.
So any business, any mom and pop shop that sells let's say cookies, right?
Right.
Your whole job as a business, no matter whether you're a mom and pop shop, you work for yourself at home or you're freaking Disney, your whole job is to please the consumer. Why? Because the only way you turn a profit is if your consumer is pleased and buying stuff from you, right? That's literally business 101. Mm-hmm. You make a product and you please your consumer so they consume your product, right? So it's just crazy to me that it took this long for one of the largest entertainment and businesses in the world to be hey, maybe we should please the consumer.
Yeah. And again, to do that, you have to care about your base. You have to care about your demographic, who you're targeting, your target audience. You have to care about, that means you have to get to know who the consumer is.
Yeah.
You have to get to know what they like, what they don't like. You have to care enough to look at that. And that takes us to the Taika Waititi thing that came out just this past week, where after everybody finally, because again, this is major vindication for me and people like me who after Ragnarok was hey, Taika Waititi's sensibilities do not belong in good. They don't fit well with Marvel. The direction that he's taking this, what he did with the Hulk, the direction he's taking Thor, especially because it went from there to Endgame, stuff like that. And then ultimately we get Thor Love and Thunder. Only then did everybody go, what the freak is this, right? And I said, if you go back and listen to our review of Thor Love and Thunder when the movie came out, one of the things I said was that it felt and maybe I hope this isn't true, but it felt to me at times where it was so ridiculous that it felt almost like the bullies making fun of the nerds. Mm-hmm. And the nerd doesn't know he's being made fun of until later. And then the bullies just say something really pandering or whatever, but they're totally making fun of him to his face. He just doesn't realize it. And then as soon as you walk away, they all laugh and punch each other. It kind of felt like that. Whoever made this was making fun of the audience. And now he comes out and basically says right from the get, he thought Thor was a ridiculous character.
No, he straight up says
he thought it was a dumb character, and the only reason he did it was to feed his kids.
No, he straight up said he couldn't get through of a single issue of reading Thor.
Yeah. He said it was one of those that he picked up and he would just put back down because he didn't get it. And then when he did try to read it, he still was like flabbergasted by it.
And he said Thor looked ridiculous and all that stuff. And it just, it didn't like the character. Yeah. But again, it's a big pay. Like, who's going to turn down a big IP like that? So you can't even blame him.
Right. No, I don't blame him.
It's the studio. Yeah.
But that's the point that I'm making is Disney and Marvel, at some point, they no longer cared to consider their audience.
Yeah.
They were I don't know if it was they got too big-headed. I don't know what all the reasonings and the machinations of it are, but they clearly at some point thought it was okay to start hiring creatives and filmmakers and writers that not only didn't care about these characters or these stories, they didn't even like them in some cases. You don't think that that's going to go poorly?
I never understood. It's such a weird thing to me. Where like, I've been saying this for freaking years, where the only reason Marvel Studios, you could use it with Star Wars and other stuff, but let's use Marvel Studios. Marvel Studios is as successful as it is because of the core fan base loving these characters initially from the books.
Yes.
Right?
For sure.
Because Marvel Studios only exists because Marvel Comics, because that's where it all started.
DC, Marvel.
So yeah, also all those things. So it's like really weird that you're like, oh, we're going to leverage Spider-Man, because everyone loves him from the comics and the cartoons, and they love him for these very specific reasons.
Yeah.
So we're going to leverage this very known IP, turn it into a movie, and then we'll make millions. But we're not going to have this character be anything like how they know and love him from the cartoons and the comic books. That just doesn't like, I'm no businessman, but just logically, that doesn't make any sense to me. Because it's like so you're taking something that someone loves and the reasons why they love this character or whatever it is, whatever you're adapting, and then you're changing it completely to make it something that is not what they love about this specific character. So it's like, that just doesn't seem smart to me. Like, it's like, oh, you love this? You love it? You love it? Okay, I'm going to change it. And then I'm going to split Spider-Man on it, but it's not going to be Spider-Man. I'm not against them. I don't think it needs to be exactly like the comic book, but it needs to be something that kind of honors it, or at least is a change for the better. And I like to be optimistic. I hope that they're not trying to make these changes for the worst intentionally, but like, that's why you need someone with care, or at least respects the character, to be the one to take the risk with these changes, because they're more likely to land it than someone who doesn't even like the character.
All I know is you definitely cannot take these characters and turn them into a parody of themselves because you think they're ridiculous.
As Taika said, he's a billionaire in space, Tim.
Jeez, freaking.
He's a billionaire in space who's ridiculous, you know?
And let me say that again. You can do that.
And he's a germaphobe, like me.
Oh. And you can do that. You absolutely can do that. But if you're going to throw, you're going to deal with the results.
I mean, and to be fair,
you're going to have to live with the results. If you're going to spend $250 million on it, best of luck to you.
To be fair, Thor Ragnarok did work out well for them.
It did.
It did. So whether, like, I'm not the biggest fan, I know you're not, but it made them a lot of money.
Which is why we got another one.
Yes, but then they just let him go like full 100% Taika in Love and Thunder, and we know how that turned out. And I want to get clear, I'm a fan of Taika. I think he's very talented. I like his other movies and stuff like that. I'm just not a fan of his Thor films.
I will tell you this right now, especially after we got Thor Love and Thunder, and now especially that we've gotten confirmation in this podcast that he went on with Jason Bateman.
The Smartless podcast.
The Smartless podcast. You guys should check that out. It's an interesting.
It's a great podcast.
It's an interesting podcast. But especially after that, I think the only reason that Thor Ragnarok did as well as it did, and because it definitely had some cool stuff in it, the only reason that movie was as salvageable is because the Russo brothers and the people that were finishing out the Infinity Saga would not allow Taika to go off the rails. Because it would have screwed up everything else that they were doing.
I mean,
they didn't need the Hulk that much. But that's why they were okay with him.
Not to play devil's advocate, but the Russos didn't do a really good job with Thor either.
Better than freaking Taika Waititi.
They gave us overweight, like slouch Thor.
That's where I think that they let Taika and Chris Hemsworth put their little.
I want to caveat that
spin on it,
because I know people are probably yelling at me in the comments. Infinity War Thor is the best version of Thor we've gotten in the MCU. Full stop. So like the Russos did do that, but they also gave us Endgame Thor, which was possibly. It's one of the worst versions of Thor in the MCU.
I think that was because they were largely done with Thor at that point.
He was just a joke.
And also the Hulk, they openly said that they really didn't care about the Hulk. Like that he wasn't a major character for them. That's the only reason I think that Taika didn't go off the fully off the rails in the first film.
Point is, Tim, Disney is they're having a time. They're having a go right now. Their CEO clearly wants to restructure things.
Yeah. The biggest thing for me from here out, and this is like one of the biggest, was we got the Madam Web trailer, but that's Sony.
Yeah.
But it's going to tie in somehow at some point.
Sony's going to be Sony.
And that's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
The Madam Web trailer was not very good. We got the Echo thing coming. They're dumping that whole series at the beginning of, or mid-January. They seem to just wanting to offload that whole thing. So that's probably going to be another debacle. People that are close to it have already said privately that they didn't know what to do with it because it had so many problems. So the big question becomes, especially with the Jonathan Majors trial underway, is where is this all going to eventually go? Are we going to see them continue on these trends? Well, or are they going to do and really course correct? And really, this is why I'm hoping.
They're taking a year off, basically, though.
This is why I said on our previous podcast, I'm hoping this whole massive slate change, while the strikes definitely lent what was part of the issue, I'm hoping that one of the other big things is they said, we need to take a year to regroup and restructure. And that's part of why they're kind of just throwing all this crap out there, because they're just like, yeah, there's all this stuff, so that they have time. They have cloud cover to actually figure out what they're going to do to fix this.
It's very interesting. And I like to your point earlier, I'm going to stress it one last time. There is a lot of factors, as all movies seem to be struggling and studios seem to be struggling across the board, because DC isn't doing so hot either. But, there's a lot of factors, with the DCEU going on where no one cares anymore. But just across the board, there's a lot of things, because, we got like the economy's not great right now.
Yeah, there's a lot
Everything's going up. We had the strikes, we're still dealing with ramifications from the pandemic. So there's a lot of factors. But again, the fact that their CEO acknowledged this one specific aspect of it is very telling.
Extremely.
It's very, very telling.
In fact, it is the most telling.
Right. So, I guess he said before in past interviews stuff, but like at a freaking summit, like a deal summit, to single that out,
dude,
that has to be one of the major factors, or one of the bigger factors amongst everything else that's going on right now.
I have said on this show in the past, and I stand by it, Bob Iger is one of the smartest CEOs to ever run a major global corporation. Stand by it. He is incredibly crafty. He is an unbelievable politician, but the level of balls.
The absolute gall.
God bless you, Bob, because this dude's rocking some serious huevos.
With that said, friends, that brings our podcast to an end.
Yes, it does.
Did you like my surprise, Tim?
That made my day and ruined it at the same time.
Because we were actually talking about Disney a little bit earlier, and I had previously seen it, and I'm like, no, I got to get the initial reaction. I was like, I need the real one. And then when I saw, because I saw like, the outline, I'm like, oh man, this is a stacked outline. You're like, no, we'll go through it pretty quick. I'm like, you don't know what's coming.
Just hit me with a haymaker.
But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed today's podcast. Lots of fun rants in this one, I think.
Yeah. And in the next couple of weeks, we're going to be, and very quickly, our Christmas break is coming up.
Yeah.
So we're going to have a couple podcasts, and we're going to be off for a week, and then we'll be back at the beginning of the year. So just so you guys know that in advance, we'll tell you again later on. And then next week, we got the Hot 5 with Tom coming back in.
The Hot 5. Yeah, it's going to be fun.
So
we got to bring that up to Tom, see what he says.
I don't know if he's going to want to comment on that one.
Anyway, guys, we'll see you next time when we talk about all things comics.